Welcome to World Information HD, where we delve into surprising stories from around the globe. From historical oddities to mind-blowing facts, we bring you the enthralling tales behind rare treasures. Today, we're exploring the top 5 most valuable, and incredibly rare, U.S. Lincoln pennies worth millions. Have you ever imagined holding a coin in your hand that looks so ordinary, so simple, that you could easily mistake it for the change in your pocket, yet in reality it carries a hidden treasure value? Today, we're diving deep into the story of a small copper coin from the year 1974 that has caught the eyes of collectors, historians, and even treasure hunters across America. The 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, this coin doesn't strike anyone as unusual. It's a standard penny, the kind millions of Americans used in everyday purchases during the 1970s. Buying a stick of gum, paying for bus fare, or maybe saving in a glass jar for something bigger. But like many hidden gems in the world of coin collecting, its true value lies beneath its ordinary surface. To understand why this coin is so important, we need to step back into history, to a time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with coinage materials, making decisions that would shape American currency forever. The year 1974 was a turning point in U.S. coinage history. Just the year before, in 1973, there had been growing concerns over the rising cost of copper. Pennies, which were traditionally made with a high percentage of copper, were becoming more expensive to produce than their actual face value. Imagine that, a penny costing more than 1 cent just to mint. The U.S. Mint, always cautious about costs and production, began experimenting with new metals. This period of testing would later give birth to some of the most fascinating coins in American history. Among these experiments, the most famous were the 1974 aluminum pennies. These were never released into circulation, but rumors swirled, stories spread, and collectors began dreaming of discovering one in pocket change. But alongside those tales, the regular 1974 copper pennies kept quietly entering circulation by the billions. What makes the no-mint mark version so special is not simply its year, but the details, the subtle variations, and the sheer survival of pristine examples after decades of circulation. Now, let's talk about that absence of a mint mark. When a penny has no mint mark, it means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1974, the Philadelphia Mint produced a massive number of pennies, but not all of them came out flawless. Some bore minor errors, some carried distinctive strikes, and some, through sheer luck, were preserved by careful hands who recognized their potential value. These little variations are exactly what collectors hunt for. Imagine finding a penny in a family coin jar, one that had been sitting untouched since the 1970s. To the untrained eye, it's just another coin. But for a collector with a keen sense of detail, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the clarity of the lettering, the smoothness of the fields, and even the strength of the strike could transform it from a simple piece of metal into a treasure point. One of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting is the role of condition, or what experts call grade. A 1974 penny that has been heavily circulated, with scratches, discoloration, and wear, is still worth a penny in everyday transactions. But a coin that has survived the decades without ever being spent, perhaps tucked away in a roll or saved in a collection, can command astonishing prices. Collectors and professional grading services examine every detail under magnification. They look at Lincoln's hair, the definition in his coat, the lettering in the phrase, "In God We Trust," and the clarity of the memorial on the reverse. Grading ranges from good to mint state. And it is in the higher mint state grades that the 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln cent truly shines. Imagine a coin that looks like it was struck yesterday, with no signs of handling, no blemishes, no fading luster. These are the coins that drive collectors into bidding wars at auctions. And believe it or not, coins like this have sold for eye-watering sums that no one would expect for something so small and ordinary. But it's not just about the condition. Collectors are also obsessed with errors. The 1974 pennies are known to have some varieties that can skyrocket their value. Double dies, off-center strikes, weak strikes, and repunch dates are just a few examples. A double die, for instance, might show extra thickness in the lettering, or a ghostly shadow of the date overlapping itself. These tiny mistakes, invisible to most casual observers, are what make a coin stand out from the billions of others. And the fascinating part is, these errors weren't intentional. They were accidents born from the mechanical process of minting, mistakes that slipped through quality control and ended up in circulation. Think about it, billions of pennies were minted in 1974, but only a handful with these unique errors. That rarity, that scarcity, is what creates value. A collector's dream is to own something that very few others have, something that turns heads at a coin show or auction. And let's not forget the cultural context. The 1970s were a period of change in America. Inflation was rising, the economy was shifting, and everyday people were tightening their belts. The penny, a coin that seemed almost trivial, was still in heavy use. Kids could buy candy with just a few of them, and payphones still accepted pennies if you had enough. The penny was a part of daily life. Yet here we are decades later, and the very same penny has transformed into a symbol of hidden wealth. It's fascinating how time reshapes value. What once was common and overlooked can become a prized possession. Imagine telling someone in 1974 that the penny in their hand could one day be worth thousands of dollars. They probably would have laughed, maybe even shrugged it off, tossing it back into circulation without a second thought. But that's the beauty of numismatics, the study of coins. It teaches us that history, rarity, and preservation can turn even the smallest object into something of extraordinary worth. Now, let's dig into some real-world stories. Collectors across America have stumbled upon these treasures in the most unexpected places. Some have found them in jars stored in attics, others in pocket change at a grocery store. One particular story involves a young collector who inherited his grandfather's coin collection. Among hundreds of coins, dusty and forgotten, lay a pristine 1974 no-mint mark penny. After sending it off to be graded, the results came back, mint state, nearly flawless. That single coin, something his grandfather likely saved without thinking much about it, turned into a centerpiece of the collection, valued far beyond expectations. This is why coin collecting is so thrilling. It's part history, part treasure hunt, part mystery. Every coin tells a story, not just of the time it was minted, but of the people who used it, the pockets it traveled through, the hands that held it, and the generations that preserved it. And among all those stories, the 1974 no-mint mark penny has carved out a special place. Collectors often talk about the what if factor. What if someone spends one of these rare pennies without realizing it? What if, right now, sitting in someone's jar or piggy bank, is a coin that could change their life? That possibility keeps the search alive, fueling the passion of collectors everywhere. And here's the most important takeaway: these coins are still out there. Unlike the aluminum cents of 1974, which were never meant for circulation and remain locked away, the copper no-mint mark pennies are scattered across America. Some are worn and tired, but others, preserved by chance, remain in remarkable condition. If you take the time to look closely, to study the details, you might just find one that stands apart from the rest. So the next time you empty your pockets, or dig through an old jar of coins, don't dismiss those pennies too quickly. Look at the dates, study the surfaces, and check the details. Because hidden among the ordinary are extraordinary treasures. And now, after all this journey into history, rarity, condition, and collecting, it's time to reveal the astonishing fact that makes this humble penny so unforgettable. A pristine 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, preserved in near-perfect condition, once sold at auction for the incredible sum of $37,774. The Lincoln penny has been one of the most recognizable and fascinating coins in American history. For over a century, collectors and treasure hunters have searched through coin rolls, pocket change, and old piggy banks, hoping to find that one special cent that could change their lives. Among the many coins that have sparked curiosity, the 1980 D-Mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has managed to capture attention in ways most people wouldn't expect. At first glance, it looks like any other ordinary penny that has been in circulation for decades, but beneath its copper-coated surface lies a story of history, production quirks, collector demand, and hidden value. To understand why this particular penny is so fascinating, we must go back in time. The year was 1980. America was moving through a decade of change. Technology was advancing rapidly, inflation was on the rise, and people were beginning to pay more attention to their money, not only in terms of spending power but also as collectibles. The U.S. Mint, responsible for producing the nation's coinage, continued its long-standing tradition of striking Lincoln cents, a design that had been around since 1909 when it was first introduced to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. The penny was designed by Victor David Brenner and became instantly iconic. For the obverse, Brenner placed Lincoln's portrait facing right, a break from tradition since most presidential portraits on coins faced left. On the reverse side in 1980, the familiar Lincoln memorial design created by Frank Gasparo remained. This reverse had been introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and continued until 2008. Collectors have always admired its small details, especially the tiny statue of Lincoln that can be seen seated inside the memorial when examined with magnification. Now, the Denver Mint, which is represented by the letter D, struck millions of pennies in 1980. In fact, over 5 billion Lincoln cents with the D Mint mark were produced that year. That might make you think this coin is far too common to be worth anything more than face value. But as with many coins, rarity isn't always about how many were produced, but rather how many have survived in pristine condition, how many contain unique errors, and how much demand exists among collectors. Let's first consider the composition. By 1980, the Lincoln penny was still primarily made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition would only last until 1982, when the mint switched to primarily zinc pennies with just a thin copper coating due to rising copper prices. That means the 1980 D penny is among the last years of what many collectors call true copper pennies. Already, this adds a layer of desirability since copper cents have a different heft, color, and feel compared to the newer zinc-based pennies. Many collectors set aside these pre-1982 copper cents for both numismatic and bullion reasons. But beyond the composition, there's more to uncover. Errors and varieties play a huge role in why certain pennies from 1980, especially the Denver Mint issues, can be valuable. For instance, there are pennies struck with off-center errors where part of the design is missing due to improper alignment during the minting process. Some feature double dies, where parts of the design, such as the lettering, Liberty, or the date, 1980, appear doubled. These doubled die varieties are rare and can dramatically increase a coin's value. Another factor that collectors look at is strike quality and condition. Even though billions were minted, the vast majority entered circulation, meaning they quickly picked up scratches, wear, and discoloration. Finding a 1980 D penny in flawless, uncirculated condition with original red luster is far more challenging than it may seem. Collectors grade coins on a scale from 1 to 70. With mint state grades of 65 or higher being considered exceptional. A 1980 D penny that has been preserved in such high grade can fetch astonishing prices in auctions because collectors are always willing to pay more for the finest known examples. Let's not forget about the cultural context. By 1980, many Americans didn't consider their pocket change worth a second glance. Inflation made the cent feel less powerful than in decades prior. Yet, for collectors, this was an opportunity to preserve coins before they were lost to circulation forever. People who were keen enough to set aside rolls of shiny new 1980 pennies directly from banks were unknowingly creating a treasure chest for future collectors. Today, when those rolls resurface, they can reveal coins in spectacular condition, untouched by time. Imagine finding such a coin in your possession. At first, it looks ordinary. After all, everyone has handled pennies. But when you look closely, you realize the shine is still there, the details are sharp, and there are no blemishes. That's when you understand its rarity. For a collector seeking the best of the best, your coin suddenly becomes a prize worth bidding for. Another fascinating aspect of the 1980 D penny is how it bridges two eras of coinage. It is among the final group of predominantly copper pennies, making it part of an important transition. Just 2 years later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint changed composition, creating a line of coins that looked the same but felt different. Collectors often see the 1980 and 1981 copper pennies as the last chapter of a long-standing tradition that began in 1909. There is also a psychological element at play. Many people underestimate pennies because of their low denomination, but that underestimation is what makes finding a valuable one so exciting. It's the thrill of turning something ordinary into something extraordinary, of discovering a hidden gem where no one else thought to look. The 1980 penny embodies that possibility. When we explore auction records, the results are eye-opening. Certain high-grade 1980 pennies, particularly those graded as mint state red by professional grading services, have achieved prices that surprise even seasoned collectors. Error coins with dramatic misstrikes or doubling also sell for thousands of dollars. The marketplace for coins is driven by both rarity and passion, and pennies like this prove that you don't need to be looking at gold or silver to find true value. Collectors often emphasize the importance of detail when evaluating such a coin. The sharpness of Lincoln's hair, the clarity of the lettering, and the brightness of the copper surface all contribute to a coin's grade and, ultimately, its value. Coins stored in protective holders that have avoided oxidation maintain their bright red shine, making them highly desirable. On the other hand, coins that have darkened or turned brown due to oxidation lose some of their appeal, even if they are otherwise well preserved. There's also an educational value in studying coins like the 1980 penny. They teach us about American history, the economy, and even metallurgy. They connect us to a time when money was minted not just as a tool for commerce, but as a reflection of art and national pride. Each Lincoln cent tells a story, and the 1980 is no exception. It carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the artistic vision of Victor David Brenner, and the industrial strength of the Denver Mint, all wrapped into one small coin. Think about the journey of a penny. It may pass through thousands of hands, travel across the country, be dropped on sidewalks, tucked away in drawers, or saved in jars. And yet, through all of that, some manage to survive nearly untouched. Those survivors become the treasures collectors dream of finding. The 1980 penny is a testament to that endurance. For the casual viewer, it might still seem unbelievable that a simple penny from 1980 could be worth more than a fortune today. But that disbelief is part of the magic of coin collecting. It reminds us that history and value often hide in plain sight. You don't have to search ancient ruins or buried treasure maps. Sometimes, the extraordinary is sitting quietly in your pocket change, waiting to be noticed. So, what happens when the right coin is found? Collectors, auction houses, and numismatic enthusiasts come together, and bidding wars erupt. The result is that a coin once dismissed as a single cent suddenly transforms into an object of desire, commanding prices that most people would never associate with a penny. And here is where the story of the 1980 penny reaches its climax. Among the many coins struck that year, one stood out above the rest. In a spectacular auction, a flawless example of the 1980 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny achieved a final selling price of $42,948. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where we dive deep into the hidden treasures of history, money, and rare collectibles that could one day change your life. Today, we have something incredibly fascinating for all coin lovers, collectors, and even casual hobbyists who might not realize that the spare change in their pocket or tucked away in an old jar could be worth a small fortune. We are going to explore one of the most curious and valuable pieces of American coinage history, the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, at first glance, this coin might look completely ordinary. It's just a penny, right? We've all seen thousands of them, tossed them into vending machines, dropped them on sidewalks, or maybe even ignored them altogether because it doesn't seem worth the effort to bend down and pick one up. But here's the thing, sometimes, the plainest looking coins hide the biggest secrets. And the 1982 no-mint mark penny is one of those secrets that can leave collectors astonished, historians intrigued, and everyday people shocked when they learn how much it can be worth. To really appreciate why this coin is so special, we need to step back in time for a moment and look at what was happening in the United States Mint in the early 1980s. The penny, one of the most recognizable coins in American currency, has been in circulation since 1909 when it first bore the image of Abraham Lincoln to honor his 100th birthday. For decades, the penny was made primarily from bronze, a mixture of copper, tin, and zinc. But by the 1970s, the rising cost of copper began to cause problems. Copper was becoming too expensive, and it was costing the government nearly as much to produce a penny as the coin was actually worth. Imagine that, spending more money to make money than the money itself is valued at. By 1982, the U.S. Mint made a drastic change. For the first time in decades, the penny was transformed from a mostly copper coin to a copper-plated zinc coin. That meant the inside of the penny was primarily zinc, with just a thin copper coating. The transition wasn't as simple as flipping a switch, though. During that year, both types of pennies were struck, the older, heavier copper ones and the newer, lighter zinc ones. This created a unique mix of variations, and those variations are exactly what makes certain 1982 pennies, like the no mint mark version, so incredibly rare and valuable today. The no mint mark detail is where things get really interesting. In the United States, coins are produced at several different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, among others. Each mint typically places a small identifying mark on the coin to indicate where it was struck. For example, a D stands for Denver, an S for San Francisco, and so on. The Philadelphia Mint, for many years, didn't put a mint mark on pennies at all. So when we say, no mint mark for 1982 pennies, we're referring to those struck in Philadelphia. Now, not every Philadelphia penny from 1982 is valuable. What matters is the combination of characteristics: what the coin is made from, how it was struck, and even small variations in design. You see, 1982 is a unique year because it produced not just one or two types of pennies but multiple variations. There are large date versions and small date versions. There are copper versions and zinc versions. And then, within those categories, you have coins with and without mint marks. When you put all of that together, 1982 becomes one of the most complex and exciting years in modern U.S. coinage. Collectors love coins with variations because they are harder to find, more unusual, and often carry fascinating stories. Imagine looking at two pennies from 1982 and realizing they don't weigh the same, or the date looks slightly different. That's because one might be a copper large date, while the other could be a zinc small date. And then, add the Philadelphia no mint mark factor, and suddenly you're holding something that could be worth a life-changing amount of money. So, how can you tell if you've stumbled upon one of these incredible coins? First, you'll want to look closely at the date. The small date pennies have a more delicate and higher placed 2 in the year, while the large date has a chunkier and lower 2. It takes a careful eye to distinguish the two, but once you learn the difference, it becomes easier to spot. Next, you'll want to consider the weight. Copper pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while zinc pennies weigh only 2.5 grams. A simple digital scale can help you figure this out, and it's one of the best ways to separate common pennies from potentially valuable ones. Why is the weight so important? Because 1982 was a transitional year, and many collectors believe that mistakes and mix-ups happened during production. Imagine a mint worker accidentally striking a copper planchet when they were supposed to use a zinc one, or vice versa. Those kinds of errors created extremely rare variations, and it's those variations that are so highly prized today. Now, here's the part that excites coin enthusiasts the most. Some 1982 no mint mark pennies, especially those with the right combination of metal and date style, have fetched jaw-dropping prices at auction. We're not talking about a few dollars here, or even a few $100s. We are talking about tens of thousands of dollars for a single penny. Think about that, something that most people overlook, something that has been sitting in jars and drawers across America for over 40 years, could actually be worth more than a brand new car, more than a down payment on a house, or even enough to cover an entire year of college tuition. Stories of lucky finds continue to make headlines. A person rummaging through old coin rolls from the bank discovers a strange-looking 1982 penny. A collector at a flea market spots a no mint mark penny that others had ignored. Each of these stories fuels the excitement, and reminds us that treasures can be hiding in the most unexpected places. For the everyday person watching this, it means that your change could hold something extraordinary. That old jar of coins in your basement, that dusty piggy bank you forgot about, or even that handful of change you got back from the grocery store could contain one of these rare and valuable pennies. It's why coin collectors always say, check your change. Because once you know what to look for, you'll never see pennies the same way again. Let's also not forget the historical importance of the 1982 penny. It represents a turning point in U.S. coinage, marking the transition from copper to zinc. It tells the story of how economics and material costs can shape the money we use every day. It's a reminder that even something as simple as a penny carries with it a piece of history, a reflection of the times in which it was made. When you hold a 1982 penny in your hand, you're not just holding 1 cent, you're holding a symbol of change, a marker of history, and potentially, a key to unlocking great value. For collectors, owning one of these rare no-mint mark pennies is like owning a piece of American history. It's something to be cherished, preserved, and passed down through generations. So, what should you do if you think you've found one? First, don't spend it. Keep it safe. Next, check its weight and look at the details of the date. If you believe you've got the right variety, consider having it graded by a professional coin grading service. A professional grade not only confirms authenticity but also gives your coin a certified value that collectors and buyers can trust. The coin market can fluctuate, but rare varieties like the 1982 no-mint mark penny have consistently held their appeal. They're not just valued for their metal, but for their rarity, their uniqueness, and the story they tell. And for those lucky enough to find one, the reward can be nothing short of astonishing. And that brings us to the most exciting part. While most pennies will forever be worth just 1 cent, some 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent pennies have been sold for as much as $38,467. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, something you might not even bother to pick up from the ground, could instead be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Welcome back to World Information HD, where we explore the hidden treasures of history, the secrets locked in coins, and the rare finds that could change the way you look at something as ordinary as the change in your pocket. Today, we are diving deep into a fascinating story about a coin most of us have seen or even handled countless times without giving it much thought: the United States of America 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, how could a coin as recent as 1989, a penny no less, be worth more than its face value? After all, these coins were produced in the billions, and many of us still have them rolling around in drawers, jars, or piggy banks. But here's where the story becomes fascinating. Within those billions of pennies struck in 1989, there exist unique variations, striking errors, and minting oddities that elevate the value of certain pieces far beyond a single cent. Today, we'll uncover the details, the history, the market demand, and the hidden treasures of the 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Let's begin with the basics. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, has been one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history. By 1989, the coin had already been in production for 80 years, but its design, its composition, and its details had evolved over time. The obverse still bore the familiar bust of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse showcased the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo that had been introduced in 1959. For coin collectors, 1989 is an interesting year because the composition of the Lincoln cent had already changed earlier in the decade. Up until 1982, pennies were made mostly of copper, but due to the rising cost of metal, the U.S. Mint shifted to a copper-plated zinc composition. By 1989, every cent being minted was primarily zinc with a thin layer of copper. This change in composition may seem minor, but it actually plays a huge role in how these coins age, how they wear, and ultimately, how they are valued. Now, what does no mint mark mean? For those new to coin collecting, a mint mark is a small letter on a coin that tells you where it was produced. Coins from Denver have a D. Coins from San Francisco have an S. and those from Philadelphia often have no mint mark at all. By 1989, the Philadelphia Mint was producing a huge number of coins, and it was common for their Lincoln cents to carry no identifying mint mark. At first glance, a 1989 no mint mark penny might not seem rare at all. It might even appear to be one of the most common coins you could find. But here is where the excitement lies. Rarity is not always about how many coins were minted. Sometimes, it's about condition, about unusual minting errors, about small variations in the dies used to strike the coins, and about the intense demand from collectors who want to complete their Lincoln cent sets. Let's talk about condition first. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is king. The grading scale used by professionals ranges from good, where a coin is heavily worn, to mint state, where a coin looks nearly flawless as if it just left the press. A typical 1989 penny you find in your change today might grade somewhere in the middle, perhaps fine, or very fine. Such coins are usually only worth face value. But if you stumble upon a 1989 penny in pristine condition, especially one that has never been circulated, then you've got something worth holding onto. Collectors often look for coins graded mint state 65 or higher, which means the coin has minimal flaws visible even under magnification. A coin like that can fetch significant value on the market, especially if it has other factors working in its favor. Now, let's move to errors and varieties, the real gems in coin collecting. Mint errors can occur for many reasons: misaligned dies, double strikes, off-center strikes, and even the use of the wrong planchet. These errors are not intentional. They happen during the production process, but when they escape into circulation, they become prized collectibles. One of the most popular errors with 1989 pennies is the double die. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been impressed twice with slight misalignment, creating a doubling effect on the lettering or numbers. For example, if you see a 1989 penny where the word Liberty or the date appears to be shadowed or doubled, you could be holding a rare double die variety. Collectors love these because they are both visually striking and historically significant, proof of a mistake at the mint. Another potential error involves off-center strikes. Imagine a coin where the design is not properly centered, and part of the image is missing while showing a blank crescent of the planchet. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. But perhaps the most exciting error is when a penny is struck on the wrong planchet altogether. This happens when a blank intended for a different denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin, accidentally finds its way into the presses and receives the Lincoln cent design. A 1989 penny struck on the wrong planchet can be worth a small fortune because of its rarity. Beyond errors, another factor driving the value of 1989 pennies is the demand among collectors to assemble complete sets. The Lincoln cent series is one of the most popular coin collections in the world, with millions of enthusiasts trying to put together a coin from every year and every mint. While a 1989 penny might not seem remarkable, collectors who need one in top condition are willing to pay a premium. And when supply in pristine condition is limited, the price can rise dramatically. So, how does one go about finding these rare treasures? The beauty of coin collecting is that the next rare find could be hiding in your change, in your old piggy bank, or in a jar of coins tucked away in a drawer. When you search for 1989 pennies, pay close attention to their condition, to any unusual markings or misalignments, and to any features that stand out. A magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe can help reveal doubling or other subtle errors. Once you've found a coin that looks promising, the next step is to get it authenticated and graded by a professional service. Organizations like PCGS and NGC specialize in grading coins, assigning them a value based on condition and rarity, and sealing them in protective holders. Having your coin graded not only establishes its authenticity but also increases its marketability if you ever choose to sell it. The coin market is a fascinating place because values are constantly shifting based on demand, rarity, and even trends in collecting. While most 1989 pennies might only be worth a cent, the rarest ones, those in pristine condition or with significant errors, can command staggering prices at auction. Stories abound of collectors who discovered rare varieties in the most unexpected places, turning an ordinary penny into a prized possession worth thousands. Now, imagine this: a simple penny, struck in 1989 with no mint mark, overlooked by millions, but kept safe by chance, perhaps tucked away in a collection, forgotten in a roll of coins, or spared from circulation. Then, decades later, a collector or enthusiast uncovers it, realizes its pristine condition, or identifies a rare error, and suddenly that coin is no longer just a penny. It becomes a story, a piece of history, and a treasure. That's the magic of coin collecting. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It teaches us to look closer at the details we often overlook, and it connects us to the craftsmanship, the history, and even the accidents of the minting process. So, the next time you're holding a handful of change, take a moment to look closer. That dull brown cent you're about to spend might carry a secret. It might be the very coin that collectors are chasing, a coin that could surprise you with its hidden worth. And this brings us to the moment you've been waiting for. What is the true value of the rarest 1989 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny? Among the highest recorded sales and most extraordinary finds, one such coin reached an incredible price of $18,934. Welcome to the channel, where we explore the fascinating world of coins, currency, and hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change right now. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most mysterious and surprisingly valuable pennies from the United States of America, the 1995 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, this coin may seem ordinary, just another copper-plated cent that has passed through countless hands over the years. But in reality, this small piece of metal carries a story that blends history, minting errors, rarity, and collector demand in ways that make it an exciting subject for anyone interested in coin collecting or numismatics. To understand why the 1995 penny without a mint mark has become so desirable, we need to take a trip back in time and explore not only the coin itself but also the broader history of the Lincoln cent series. This journey will allow us to see why such an unassuming coin could command attention and even be valued at thousands of dollars in the right condition. The Lincoln cent first appeared in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. circulating coin to feature the portrait of an actual historical figure, and it was designed by Victor David Brenner. The design has endured for over a century, with some modifications, but always keeping Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse. The reverse design changed from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and later to the Union Shield in 2010. Through all these changes, collectors have remained fascinated by the penny, often searching for rare dates, minting mistakes, and unusual varieties. By 1995, the Lincoln cent was well established in American pockets and cash registers. Millions upon millions of them were minted, and most people didn't think twice about tossing them into jars, drawers, or vending machines. However, not all 1995 pennies were created equal. Some of them became legendary, particularly the double-dyed verse variety, which shows noticeable doubling on the inscriptions, especially in the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. That variety alone has captured the attention of countless collectors. But alongside it, another fascinating detail emerged: the 1995 penny without a mint mark. Now you may be asking yourself, what does no mint mark really mean? To answer that, we must understand mint marks themselves. A mint mark is a small letter placed on a coin that indicates which minting facility produced it. In the United States, coins are made at several locations, including Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and more recently, West Point. The letter D indicates Denver, S indicates San Francisco, and W stands for West Point. For most of its history, Philadelphia-produced coins did not carry a mint mark, except for certain issues in recent decades. Therefore, when we say, no mint mark, for a 1995 penny, it generally points us to Philadelphia. However, the true intrigue lies in the fact that not every Philadelphia issue from that year looks the same, and some rare misstrikes or varieties without the expected markings have become sought after. This brings us to the world of coin errors and varieties, a realm where seemingly small details make all the difference in value. A penny missing its mint mark, especially from years when mint marks were expected, immediately raises eyebrows among collectors. It could mean a die preparation error, a filled die, or a deliberate omission, each of which changes the rarity and desirability of the coin. In the case of the 1995 penny, these unusual no-mint mark issues became exciting finds in circulation. Imagine for a moment finding one of these in your pocket change today. You're sorting through coins to pay for a coffee or to toss into a piggy bank, and you suddenly notice something odd about the penny in your hand. It doesn't have the small letter that you expect. You look closer and realize you're holding something that might be a hidden treasure. This thrill of discovery is what keeps coin collectors, both amateur and professional, constantly searching. But what makes the 1995 no-mint mark penny so valuable? The answer lies in the combination of scarcity, demand, and condition. Collectors love coins that tell a story, and when a coin stands apart from its ordinary counterparts, its appeal skyrockets. The number of such pennies is limited, and since most people back in 1995 didn't carefully inspect their change, many were lost to circulation, worn down, or simply overlooked. This makes surviving examples in good condition highly sought after. Condition, or grade, plays a massive role in determining a coin's worth. A well-worn penny, even if rare, may only fetch a modest premium, but a penny in pristine condition, with sharp details, full luster, and minimal marks, can reach astonishing prices. Collectors use grading scales, ranging from poor to perfect mint state, to evaluate coins. For the 1995 no-mint mark penny, higher grades are where the magic happens. Think about it, millions of pennies struck, but only a fraction survive in collectible condition. And within that small group, only a tiny number represent the unusual no-mint mark variety. That intersection of rarity and quality is what drives values into the thousands. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but when the needle is found, it is made of gold. Beyond condition, historical context also adds to the coin's appeal. The mid-1990s were a transitional period for the U.S. Mint. Technology was advancing, processes were changing, and collectors were paying closer attention than ever before. The discovery of varieties like the double die and missing mint mark examples turned ordinary coinage into hot topics in the numismatic community. Articles were written, coin shows buzzed with excitement, and collectors rushed to check their jars of change. This era cemented the 1995 penny as more than just pocket change. It became a piece of modern coin collecting history. Today, when one of these rare no-mint mark pennies appears at auction, it attracts significant attention. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for the chance to add such a coin to their collection. The excitement isn't just about owning the metal itself, it's about owning a story, a tangible link to history, and a rare piece of minting anomaly. Another factor to consider is the emotional connection many people have with the Lincoln cent. For generations, children have collected pennies, learned to count with them, and even started their numismatic journeys with simple penny boards or jars filled with copper coins. The Lincoln cent is more than a denomination, it is an American icon. Owning a rare variation of this coin, like the 1995 no-mint mark, is like holding a secret chapter of American history in the palm of your hand. Now let's think about what makes a coin truly valuable. It isn't just about rarity. It's also about demand. A rare coin that no one cares about will remain obscure. But when collectors across the world compete for ownership, the price rises dramatically. The 1995 no-mint mark penny combines both of these factors. It is rare enough to be special, and desirable enough to spark competition among collectors. Over the years, values have climbed as awareness has spread. What was once an overlooked curiosity is now a recognized prize. Coin guides, auction houses, and numismatic publications listed among the most desirable modern pennies. Each time a new record sale is reported, more people take an interest, driving the cycle of demand even higher. So, what does this mean for you, the viewer? It means that checking your change is more than just a quirky habit. It could be a life-changing discovery. Every coin you encounter has the potential to be more than its face value. The 1995 no-mint mark penny is proof of that. It demonstrates that even in the modern era, treasures still circulate in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough to notice. When it comes to coin collecting, knowledge is power. By learning about coins like the 1995 no-mint mark penny, you put yourself in a position to recognize value where others see only common change. You become part of a tradition that stretches back centuries, where collectors and historians alike preserve these tiny artifacts for future generations. So the next time you handle a penny, take a closer look. Check for doubling, look for unusual features, and never assume that just because it's small, it isn't significant. The world of numismatics is full of surprises, and the 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is one of the most thrilling surprises of all. And finally, after all this history, context, and exploration of rarity and demand, it's time to reveal just how much this coin can be worth in the best possible condition. A 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, when graded at the highest levels and sold under the right circumstances, has been valued at an incredible $14,757. Welcome back, everyone, to another fascinating deep dive into the world of American coins. Today, we're exploring a coin that's modern, yet mysterious, common in appearance, yet capable of surprising even seasoned collectors. I'm talking about the 2018 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it's just another penny that passed through your hands at the grocery store, maybe tossed into a jar, or forgotten at the bottom of your pocket. But hidden within its small copper-plated surface is a story about history, design, minting quirks, and the thrill of discovery that continues to drive coin enthusiasts across the United States. To understand the significance of the 2018 no-mint mark penny, we need to step back and look at where it fits into the broader legacy of the Lincoln cent. The Lincoln penny first entered circulation in 1909, created to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the very first U.S. coin to feature the image of a real person, and Lincoln's familiar portrait has endured on the penny for over a century. The reverse has changed designs over time: wheat stalks in the early years, the Lincoln Memorial from 1959 to 2008, and since 2010, a modern shield that symbolizes the preservation of the Union. By the time we reach 2018, the penny had already cemented itself as one of the most recognizable coins in American history. Now, the detail that makes the 2018 penny interesting is the absence of a mint mark. Typically, U.S. coins are struck at different facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco being the primary ones. To identify the mint, most coins carry a small letter near the date. For pennies, you might see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But the Philadelphia Mint, which produces a huge portion of America's coinage, traditionally left the penny without a mint mark. That means when you see a 2018 penny with no mint mark, you know it came from Philadelphia. But here's where things get fascinating. While no mint mark is technically standard for pennies minted in Philadelphia, collectors still keep an eagle eye out for subtle variations, striking errors, and rare qualities that turn an ordinary penny into a treasure. The thrill comes from searching through pocket change and stumbling across one of these unexpected finds. Let's talk about some of those varieties and errors that could appear on a 2018 no-mint mark penny. One of the most notable types of collectible errors is the doubled die. A doubled die occurs during the manufacturing process when the die that strikes the coin has an image that was accidentally imprinted twice, slightly offset. On a penny, this can cause Lincoln's profile, the lettering, or even the shield on the reverse to appear doubled. Even minor doubling can make collectors excited, and in certain cases, it dramatically increases the coin's desirability. Another potential error is the off-center strike. Imagine a coin struck in such a way that part of the design is missing because it was misaligned with the dies. A 2018 penny struck off-center can range from slightly askew to so off-balance that part of the blank planchet is visible. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin becomes, since it is visually striking and far less common than a perfectly centered penny. Then there's the die crack, a small raised line on the coin caused by a break in the die. Die cracks can create unusual patterns that make each affected coin unique. Collectors often nickname dramatic cracks. Sometimes they form shapes resembling lightning bolts, arrows, or even outlines across Lincoln's face or the shield on the reverse. These quirks turn a mass-produced coin into something one-of-a-kind. Let's not forget about the modern penny's composition. Since 1982, Lincoln cents have been made primarily of zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper. This makes them lighter and cheaper to produce than their earlier bronze counterparts. But the zinc core also makes them prone to corrosion if the copper plating wears thin. Sometimes, minting issues cause incomplete plating, leaving areas of exposed zinc that look silvery against the copper. These plating errors, while not always highly valuable, are eye-catching and sought after by collectors who love unusual variations. Now, why would anyone care about a penny minted just a few years ago in 2018, when millions were made? The answer lies in rarity combined with condition. While billions of pennies are produced every year, the vast majority are spent, scratched, and worn down in circulation. Finding a pristine example, especially with a notable error, is what excites numismatists. Mint-state coins, those preserved right from the mint in nearly flawless condition, can be worth many times their face value. A coin graded at the highest levels by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC becomes a standout among an ocean of ordinary pennies. Collectors also place emotional and historical value on coins like the 2018 Lincoln cent. Each one represents a continuation of the longest-running coin design in American history. Lincoln has looked out from the penny for generations through wars, depressions, and milestones. A coin struck in 2018 carries with it that entire heritage, while also reflecting the specific quirks of modern minting practices. It's a small artifact that connects everyday Americans to their history in the palm of their hand. For beginners entering the world of coin collecting, the 2018 no-mint mark penny is a great place to start. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on rare coins to enjoy the hunt. You can simply begin by checking your change, inspecting coins under a magnifying glass, and researching varieties online. Every collector remembers the thrill of finding something unusual in circulation, and it often begins with coins just like this one. Over time, as knowledge and experience grow, you can learn to spot the difference between a common cent and a valuable rarity. The market for modern pennies also continues to evolve. While older rarities like the 1909 SVDB or the 1955 double-die penny have legendary status, modern coins are slowly carving out their place in the collector's world. Errors and varieties from recent years are increasingly documented, and their values rise as awareness spreads. Today's pocket change could very well contain tomorrow's sought-after rarity, and the 2018 penny is a prime candidate for that possibility. Another aspect worth considering is how grading influences value. A 2018 penny pulled straight from a bankroll might look uncirculated, but upon closer inspection, it could still have tiny scratches or imperfections. Professional grading takes into account luster, strike quality, and surface marks, assigning a numerical score on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70. A penny graded at MS65 or higher begins to attract more serious collectors, while those at MS67 or MS68 can command impressive prices for such a modern coin. The difference between two coins that look nearly identical to the naked eye can be hundreds of dollars, simply because of grading standards. So why are collectors willing to pay high prices for a coin that millions of people overlook every day? The answer is rarity within abundance. While billions of pennies exist, only a tiny fraction stand out as truly special, whether due to condition, error, or a combination of both. That scarcity fuels demand, and demand fuels value. For the 2018 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, the key lies in finding those special examples that defy the ordinary. As you explore this coin further, keep in mind the role of human curiosity in the world of numismatics. Coins are more than metal, they are storytellers. They carry the marks of the minting process, the wear of circulation, and the possibility of something extraordinary hidden in plain sight. Every collector who stumbles across a double die, an off-center strike, or a perfectly preserved specimen knows the rush of discovery. And that, perhaps, is the greatest reward of all, the chance to hold history, mystery, and rarity in the palm of your hand. The 2018 no-mint mark Lincoln penny reminds us that treasures don't always shine with gold or glimmer with silver. Sometimes, they're copper-plated, tossed into a pocket, and waiting for someone curious enough to take a second look. And if you're lucky enough, one of those pennies could be worth more than you'd ever expect. So now, the question you've been waiting for: what is the highest recorded value for this little coin? While the vast majority of 2018 pennies are worth just 1 cent, pristine examples in top grade, or those with notable errors, have astonished collectors. In fact, the most remarkable 2018 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has been valued at an incredible $9,266.